tell, then you see the road. I'm to my soul into the size whenever the smoke clear out of my face and my picture perfect.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to Cypherfics. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the first part of, What If My Little Pony Meets BEN10. Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of JBoy44 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. In Equestria, Twilight and her friends were smiling. As they walked about it, we stopped Cozy Glow, who would have though a foal could be bad. That is when a voice of an unknown said, I did. They all then turned to see a biped no Ian in panic. Rarity's horn fired off a blast as she yelled only for Ian to hold out a finger, stopping it and making it shatter like glass. See someone new and attack. Talk about the masters of friendship. The other six looked at an embarrassed Rarity as Ian said, I am Ian, the eternal a human cursed to never be able to die but continues to age. He then removed his helmet and showed a skull face, laughing insanely as the six ponies hugged it out fear. Rainbow Dash was crying, I am sorry girls but I peed. Fluttershy looked at her, that's okay, we all did. Dashy. Applejack gulped as she asked, so did y'all comes here to get that curse broken? As it seems you are the last human, she gulped, remembering stories of humans being chaos beings that were either the best friends you could ask for, or your worst enemy. Ian laughed as he said, no, I am not the last human, we simple split off form you lot into our own world with the aid for Discord's mother. Don't bring her up to him, she was horrible and not the one form that stupid mirror portals of yours Twilight sparkle. The purple alicorn gulped as Pinkie Pie shock as she said, then why's you here Mr. Ian, she asked scared, and can you put the helmet back on? Ian smirked as he held out his hand, making the forest around them die as he said, no, I am evil. And sorry but I owe Mama Chaos a favor and she asked me to make sure her son is never happy again, taking away the woman her son loves. Fluttershy. Fluttershy gasped, Discord is in love with me, the other five said, you just realized this now. In a moment portal opened under them and they all fell it closing. As they fell through it the ponies start reshaping as they saw Ian with his hands behind his head, you'll be reshaped upon the end of this one-way tunnel, no going back ever, he laughed before vanishing. Meanwhile at a campsite on Earth. Ben was looking at his Utamatrix sad as he said, I can't believe Julie broke up with me. Carl Tennyson sat down beside his son beside the fire, I know son, not everyone can handle our weirdness, I mean me and my mom pat ourselves on the back, sure we were mad about the lies but we raised a superhero. Sandra nodded, yeah but what's that? There was a bright flash. It knocked them out. Ben was getting up, first thing he noticed his hands had no nails and were covered in fur. He then looked at his reflection in the Ultimatrix. He was looking at an anthro unicorn with green eyes, green fur and brown mane and tail. Ben then looked behind him at the tail before almost tripping over his new feet with, while hidden by his shoes was clearly hooves. Before attaching himself with a mana ball hovering he noticed his horn glowing as he said, SCK when I can do that too now, he said, getting to his feet or hooves as he said, Mom, Dad, you guys okay? He said, getting the hang of it, to walk over towards his dad, now looking like an older version of him but with brown eyes as he said, it's okay Dad, it's me. I don't know what that was but this is not the kind of changes I am used to. Carl sat up as he sat up holding his head, yeah, oh look I have magic now, he said, hovering his phone to him, I'll call my dad, you go check on what that was. Sandra got up. She appeared to be a Pegasus anthro, white fur, blonde mane and tail, green eyes, her wings coming through the back of her shirt as she said, your father is right Ben, this screams superhero time. Ben nodded as he ran off, hitting the dial for XLR8. Meanwhile, not too far away. The main six were looking at themselves. They were humanoid in shape but with hooved feet, horse-like faces and keeping respective wings, horns. Also for some strange reason they all had a figure like a supermodel. They seemed to be dressed like their human counterparts. Pinkie Pie looked at her chest, then to Dashy, Rainbow, look, you finally have teats. Good for you. I like this, they are bouncy. she said something in her mind made her think goats when she looked at them, AJ and Fluttershy made her think diamond dogs, Twilight and Rarity dogs, and Rainbow just cats. That is when they jumped at XLR8 as the guy timed out and they saw Ben as he said, "You ladies speak my long." They all nodded as Twilget got up using her memory form being human to stand. "Yeah, I am Twilight Sparkle. Do you know where we are and what just happened and why you were just that lizard thing?" Ben point to his watch. "This thing lets me turn into other races. I called that form XLR8, but I wanted to ask you the same thing. My default form was always human." Then bam, light show. "Now me and my parents are equine. I may be a superhero but my parents are normal mostly. They all looked confused like they didn't believe him as he looked through the dial and sighed. "I got a guy that can share and view others' memories. Let's watch events form each other's sides, shall we?" he said, becoming brainstorm, and in a moment light sparked, hooking them all together. A moment it was over. As the elements got up shaking, but no problems as Ben adjusted himself. They're now no more asking what's what. So evil me, Ian, sorry about him. He lost his mind and soul when his watch broke. Makes me safeguard mine, or at least make it so I am not wearing it when it goes, he said, looking at it. They then heard a yell and they all headed off. Ben did so, turning into Wildmutt to charge Trough the forest while hitting the dial to go ultimate. Applejack looked at Twilget and said, "Why are we following the mane who's just became a giant dog thing?" Rainbow was trying to fly but couldn't, "Because we don't know how to use this new bodies, let alone the fact we are all alicorns, so why not hide behind a superhero, because something is probably in this forest all evil and spooky," she said, coming to the Tennyson camp as Ben sniffed, growling, "My parents, they are gone. The capture has no scent machine." He took off following it, the girls behind him as he came to a place stop, timed out and kicked the wall, making a clank happen. Twilight blinked, touching it. "It's invisible. Is it magic? Or one of those machines?" Ben was looking at the Ultimatrix. "It was timed out. I don't know and I don't care. All I know is my parents are inside," he said, taking a deep breath before firing off a mana blast from his horn, opening a hole, and he went in, the elements following him as it closed behind him. Rarity point at it. "Do all walls do that here?" The hero said, "No, but it shows this ship is technorganic." They blinked as he sighed. "It means it is either a machine that acts like a living thing or a living machine with tech hooked up to it." Fluttershy held a hand to her chin. "And Mr. Tennyson, you said ship as it for water?" Ben walked along Rarity and Twilight's horns, lighting it. "No, you saw my memories, you know they are other worlds with things living on them. Ship as in spaceship, think of planets like island if it sums it up for you. They are also airships and weight-holding cells." He hit one as he saw someone in there with one arm, Technorg. The guy turned and said, "How do you know me?" Ben smiled as he rolled up his sleeve to show the Ultimatrix as he turned into upgrade and merged his hand into the lock, opening the cell. "How do you think, old friend?" In a moment the one-armed alien hugged the shapeshifter. "This is twice you saved me and set me free, my friend. I owe you. I will help you take down Vigma slaver ring." The girls gasped as Ben slimed out of the hug. "Right, hold on, you can't go anywhere with one arm and you seem to the only cell here that has someone in it." He then hit the dial, becoming jury-rigged, the Omniverse version, and in a moment he said, "Hold still." In a moment he turned into a blur, taking parts around them as he said, "Fix fix fricks." When he was done, Technorg had a new robotic arm. It had a hand, but in a moment the fingers went in as spikes came out and of the sides, palm, back and knuckles, making it a mace. The alien smiled. "I shall cherish it forever." He then timed out as a voice said, "I detected DNA shifts. Hello, Ben Tennyson. I still remember when you ruined my Gladiator SLV ring when you were 10. Ben rolled his eyes and said, "You shouldn't have tried to make a 10-year-old a SLV to start with." They all gasped as he added, "But you are a robot, a machine that things, no emotions, no soul. Just a mocking device pretending to be alive." Vigma's voice said, "Correct, but you have emotions, and looking at your new state I can guess those two I captured are family, something you care deeply about, BEN10. Something I now hold the fate of in my claws." On the SLV ship the robot guards holding their small energy blade on both ends staff rolled in as Technorg punched one, making it shatter. Twilight was running, avoiding the staff as she said, "So much to learn, I should be studying them, if these things weren't trying to slash at me." In a moment her horn glow, firing off a mana bullet that destroyed one. Ben then turned into Diamond Head, making Rarity's eyes sparkle as he summoned crystal spikes all over the place, impaling the guard. come on, even if changes you seen each other handle stuff, use that. Watching is the best way to learn. Rarity then took a deep breath and looked at one and in a moment fired off a magic blast like she had seen so many times with a smile. Fluttershy ducked and went in for a punch, smashing the robot's chest in around her fist. After all, she had seen Earth Pony super strength. She blinked as the robot fell over as she asked, "Did I do that?" Rainbow was standing in a fighting stance and went in for a left kick that knocked off the top of a robot off its orb wheel. She then picked up one of the staffs and ran off using it to slash at one as she said, "Is this what life for a Tennyson is like? If so, I think I want to be adopted." Pinkie Pie was running with an arm over her chest before she managed to pull out her party cannon and fired it off at them before the cannon was gone, and she smiled. Technord blinked before shrugging it off as magic. Applejack ran holding on to her hat as she ducked and stuck her left leg out, smashing one of the orb wheels. "Geez, how many of this vermits does this bigger vermint have?" Ben then saw a Tekadon come in as he said, "An army," he said as he fired off crystal spikes, but the crystals did nothing. Ben then high the dial, throwing off fireballs as heat blast at the robot as more Tekadons came in. Twilget tried hitting them with a mana blast, but nothing as Ben said, "Smart robot, it had robots built just to handle me and my team." "Well, guess it's time to try some new guys," he said, hitting the dial, becoming Slapback. Who hit his back, splitting into two smaller versions who kept hitting their backs, doing that and jumping on Tekadons. Fun fact, back Slapback gets twice as small but twice as heavy and strong. The girls' eyes widen as the Tekadon's armor start bending and warming, leaving them unable to function as they once said, so sooner or later this armor plating isn't going to be able to handle the weight. In a moment the Tekadon robots flashed into steel pancakes as Ben timed out, making all the little Slapbacks remerge as he held his head, slitting headache. Pinkie held her gut and laughed, but she jumped when the metal pancakes hit her in the leg with a laser and she saw them slowly reinflating themselves like in a cartoon. "That is like something I would do. How about we run till the watch time's back in?" They all ran off quickly as Rainbow said, "First thing we do when we are out of this flight and magic listens," she said, wishing she could fly over this. Elsewhere in cells on the other end of the ship, Carl was sitting as he looked at it. "Come on, can't let my son do this on his own. Think, Carl, think." He noticed his horn glowing, so he focused, imaging a mana bullet like he had seen his niece do so many times, and to his joy it worked, blasting the lock off, and he got up, kicking the door down as he walked out to see his wife's cell, and he did the same blast, making her happily jump into his arms with a smile. In his control room, Slick's Vigma was watching the events as he said, "How did he? It's the Tennyson's father, I will have my revenge." He hit a speaker button. "Hello Ben, it seems your father is broken himself and your mother out of his holding cells. How nice for him, but I highly doubt he has your power level to make it worth doing." Meanwhile within's group, Ben looked to the Yuta matrix and hit it, turning into goop, making Rarity scream before he hit the dial, and a voice said, "Evolution function activated, evolving." In a moment the anti-gravity disc was gone. The dial on his chest gained 4 points as black plates formed over him, giving Goop solid form and shape, with slime gushing formed the cracks of the new exoskeleton with had a skull like Gave. The long thin fingers became covered in slime as he slashed, sending off 8 shock waves of acid at the Tekadons, making them melt at the touch. Formed the slime as he said, "What's wrong? Slicks didn't know about the new ultimate aliens. What you don't know can hurt you," Ben said as he melted the wall with acid, opening up a shortcut as Twilget blinked. Note to self, study evolution, smiling as she followed through the hole with it as Ben walked ahead as Fluttershy. "I hate to rock the boat, but do you even know where you are going, Ben?" Ben turned his head around 360 to look at her, making her jump and hold her mouth to hold back a scream as he said, "These ships are standard mass produced, each one is the same minus some add ones, but the layout is still the same. The control room is always above the engine with, while you may not be seeing things in infrared and through by able to see heat like me," he said, melting the wall in front of his backwards head, "you should still be able to feel the heat through the walls." Applejack touched the walls and moved her hand up. "Darnation, that's hot," she said, acting like she got a minor burn from a hot cup or something. Technord smirked. "Illegal engine mods, makes them run faster but hotter. A robot doesn't know hot or cold, so it couldn't be burned." Ben then turned his ultimate form's head back around as he walked along, melting another wall. "Yes, the moment we can hear it is the moment we know Slicks is above us in one diagonal direction." Twilget was fanning herself with her hands as she said, "It's already bucking hot." We can't be too far from it. They then heard loud sounds and Ben stopped and timed out. That's the engine behind that wall. He then smirked as he pointed up and sideways to the north, south, east and west, so he is in one of those 4 places. Rainbow Dash blinked and crossed her arms. Okay then, but how we can't fly, or at least don't know how to in this bodies and with way is he? Technorg point with his mace hand turning back to a hand. Above the engine isn't good. The standard computer system used to control this ship's overheats easy, and I high doubt he would relocated the control room so that ways is out, so northeast or west it is. Ben then looked at the Utah matrix. I might be able to help while this thing is timed out. I can still set it to DNA scan mode. Only living things have DNA, that's the blueprints that tells your body how to make and repair you. He is a machine, so he doesn't have it, or its simple version RNA. So if I pick up a signal it is from a cell, he said, scanning to the west. The thing said, new DNA sample obtained. It then showed an image of vampire as he said, is that a vampire? No, what, save it for later. Point is north or east left. He then ran the scan again and got nothing. Okay, 50-50 now. Pinkie Pie was moving a finger between the 2 spots, caught a bad guy by his cold metal heart. Okie dokie Loki, I picked that one, she said, pointing to the north, before adding, because it makes my pinky sense go crazy. Applejack then said, that's her sense of danger. Technorg then made his new hand mace again and span it rapidly, making it a makeshift drill as he said, works for me. He then punched the wall there. Above, Slicks was knocked back by a sudden hole in the floor, and there was Technorg helping Ben up. Vigma smirked, go ahead Ben, we are in space, I can just vent the air out, killing you, your family and the other aliens I captured for SLV market form lack or air, well, most of them. Rarity yelled, it's a hostage thing. She said below, fainting into her friends. Ben crossed his arms, nice try Slicks, but I can feel the heat form the engine, it's running too hot for it to be in orbit. If we were in space the cold would cool it off and I won't feel it. Besides that, equines have 360 degrees of vision, so I can see the fuel gauge showing you are refueling from a natural gas pipeline. Your lack of sense and humanity shows you're lying. He said as he became Ghost Freak, the Omniverse version. Ben then hit the dial, making the alien go ultimate. He looked like the ZS Scare, but the upside-down skull was featureless. Its skin was black slime with 4 tendrils of slime behind it. In the palm of his clawed hands were its green eyes, and its stomach its mouth of rows of jagged teeth. The machine tried to strike it with its plug-in tendrils only for them to phase through. As Ben said, stupid alien, what part of evolution don't you understand? It means an organic being's race changing slightly each generation till something new and improved comes up. What works on a normal ghost won't work on Ultimate Ghost Freak. He then slashed the robot to shreds with his clawed hand before hitting the dial to change to gray matter before going Ultimate Gray Matter. The green hover chair riding alien smiled as he used his mind to control the controls, turning off robots, opening all cells, opening door, and using display monitors to lead the way, and calling the red spot base for pickup and getting this poor soul's home and figuring out what happened to us. The simple campsite had red spots everywhere. Twilget was being given an eye test, so we are genetically Tennysons now. Does that mean we got this anodite spark I heard about? I hope so. Rarity was shivering as a bug flew by, and I hope we don't get trapped here. Pinkie Pie walked in holding her arms, 10 shots, 10 in each arm. At some point we have to assume the guy with the needle has really bad OCD or is a creep. Applejack was walking better as she said, and hey girls, just a heads up, Rainbow is crying over Sandra figuring out flight before she could relearn how. Rainbow ran by crying, it's not FIR, she said, crying in a corner. Fluttershy was happily looking at a book, so many planets, so many cute creatures. She said, happily thinking about it as the bright side. Applejack rolled her eyes, fine, ILLS be the ones to says it. We aren't related to our old families anymore. My big brother and little sister ain't my sibs no more. Shining Armor ain't Twilight's big brother no more. Rarity isn't Sweetie Belle's big sister no more either. Rainbow, your parents no longer your parents. Fluttershy, you don't got no brother anymore, and Pinkie Pie, Maud, Limestone and Marble aren't your sisters no more. Before any of them could say anything, Ben walked up, family is a bond. Genetic relation doesn't always make such a bond. And just claiming to have it isn't enough either. Who loved and cared for you? Those are your parents and siblings no matter what. The ponies all smiled as Twilight said, explains why Celestia couldn't tell her niece had been replaced. She did not forge a bloodless bond right. But Luna noticed something was up right away as she did forge it. Pinkie Pie smiled and hugged Ben. Yeah, AJ, Ben seems to be the smart one here. She said, tapping his head, with or without that watch. With, I think Twilight would be geeking apart. Twilight finished her eye test and said, I am more focused on a way home like. In a moment Ben was clockwork and he opened portals. The alien spoke up as they all looked confused at events they knew happening differently and events they didn't. You're thinking about this two-dimensionally, forward back two ways. That is not how time works. Time is for dimensional forwards back, left and right. The Alicorn gasped as she and her friends looked at it and Ben said, every choice you make creates a new timeline where you made one of the other choices a simple three-part answer or a test spawns two new timelines, two new universe where the only difference was one choice. Now do the math on all the choices everyone makes through a day. Pinkie Pie's jaw did a cartoonish drop before she slapped herself, as glitter exploded out of her mane. Yep, my mind blow. Rarity gasped as she pointed at a window showing her kissing blue BLD on a wedding day. She tried to grab the other her. Have you lost your mind other me, but couldn't. Ben then picked up a rock, throw it, and the blue BLD reacted to their shock. They all start trying to go in but couldn't as Ben said, and sadly Ian blocked. You form all timelines that follows one choice you all made together. You could return to before that choice and wait and hide for Ian to come and then replace the other yous. The Omnitrix DNA repair could even make you ponies again with samples form them, but that won't be your world, just a close enough copy. Fluttershy blinked and said, if it's not really home, why even bother? I mean, it sounds like a like of brain-hurting work for just starting, by replacing some pony else. They won't even really be us if you think about it, as us being there hiding would have to change some choice, so the lives we get could be so very different. Rainbow was eye-widened and horrified at 10 portals showing Twilight making out with King Sombra as she said, yeah, I would like to say sorry for all the eggheads and gross that is making out with Flithy Rich. She said, turning green. Pinkie Pie was shaking behind Ben, pointing to one where she was murdering. Rainbow, I have seen enough, Ben. Turn it off. Ben hit the dial, closing the portals. Twilight shivered, saying, what in the name of Luna was shining armor doing to me, as she fainted. Ben shivered, most that always be a thing. He and Pinkie Pie looked out past an invisible wall with a shame on you look. AJ slapped her face as she said, darnation, that's a lot to take in there, Benny boy. A lot. Also thanks for the nightmares, partners. Rarity sighed and sadly said, well, we are safe, healthy bodies working, and we know our real home isn't an option, so what we start over here as Tennyson's going to be hard to fit in looking like this. Ben said, ID mask, he said, putting one on Pinkie, making her look human. They only make you look it, unlike the Omnitrix. With I check I can use it to be the old me. They then heard a lady's voice say, well, now isn't this an impossibility? They then saw Verdona, and Twilight's eyes sparkled at the pure living magical being stand before her, who waved her hand showing a pink spark glowing within the hearts of the Maras. All touched it. It matched their main colors or magic colors. Pinkie dropped the ID mask and poked at it and said, what is that? The Anodite sighed and said, an Anodite spark. How did you get it? I mean, I sensed one of my sons sparked ignited, so I came to happily teach him magic. Now it seems I have 6 new granddaughters with a spark able to be ignited sooner or later. Applejack blinked as she pointed to it. Us ain't liking this. How did it get in, ma? Someone explain. Ben then held up his hand and said, Ian. Verdona nodded and said, oh, that makes sense. The girls looked confused as Ben said, remember how you just saw an evil version of you in one of my portals? They nodded. Ian is an evil me. He clearly put some of his spark in you to make you change, explains the genetic Tennyson thing. Fluttershy was rolling around, get him out, get him out. I didn't agree to let him reach inside of me and leave behind some of him. I just realized how that sounds and I am sorry. Rarity jumped and blinked, shaking. I know how it would work for me, but what about the rest? Verdona lowered her hand, making the sparks go back within. We use hands, so I guess I can teach anyone who wants to learn too. Not like you're going anyway, you're an uncharted species, you're pretty much locked to this woods site for a month till you can leave. Ben sighed as the girl's jaws dropped. He face-palmed. Bad enough I can already hear Kevin's jokes, but now this just where I want to spend the first month of summer post-breakup. Verdona went over and grabbed his face. That be Julie broke up with you, why? Ben sighed. The what if you lose your secret identity talk came up. Went downhill from there when I told her I don't know, but thanks to the fact I lose it in all future timelines it's going to happen. A month later somehow Sandra and Carl built a parent-child-like bond with the elements, and Ben built a brother-like relationship to them as they all got in to leave. WHENTSW, a new RV Bigga pop out with a trailer and satellite dish. Max throw the keys to Carl. I know you want to show the girls this world, so take it, it's a gift, son. Carl looked at it. I think I'll offer my brother a chance to use it next year and to alternate control of it so it can be a gift to both of us. Ben adjusted his collar as he pulled out his keys and saw his car. I take it ID mask in it and my car's trunk. Max nodded and said, okay, I can take 4 in the X10, he said, getting into the driver's seat and putting on a mask. He already saw Pinkie Pie in the seat beside him as she said, shotgun here because Rainbow called it in the RV. In the back was Fluttershy, and Applejack, as Fluttershy said, I don't want to listen to Twilight, who has become a hound for the internet on that laptop of hers, or Rainbow watching action movies on TV. AJ just said, I just don't want to be near any. Rarity is probably going to be using. She was holding her stomach. This camp food doesn't sit with her fancy pants guts. Ben drove off and hit a button. Yo dad, I am going to go say some see you laters back in Bellwood. Meet up with you later with my tracker. Carl's voice came up saying, don't worry Ben, the first stop I have planned is Yellowstone, you know, where you got the Omnitrix at 10 and became a superhero. Ben was clearly wearing an ID mask as he was at a Mr. Smoothie and he was looking at Kevin. You get one joke. Kevin rolled his eyes as he turned to leave. With so much material I say nay. Ben sat down on a bench and said, I guess I just wait for AJ, Fluttershy and Pinkie to get out of the can before leaving. At with point a lady who looked like she should be a model despite being his age sat down. Lovely dark skin, pretty yellow eyes, long flowing red hair. She had on a green tank top, blue jeans with a green Omnitrix dial on the left leg, and cowgirl boots. Ben blinked before she asked, going to stare or talk? Ben shook his head and held his hand and he said, right, sorry, I am Ben Tennyson. She smiled and shook his hand. Jessica Jackson, now what got you so long in the face? Ben rolled his eyes at her unknown pun. He said and said, got dumbed big time. She said I was too weird. And not how I made myself out to be. Jessica crossed her arms and said, let me guess, you tried to make yourself out to be her type and tried to change for her. Ben looked to the Ultimatrix and nodded as she said, Ben, that never works, you have to be you. Ben sighed at it and followed it, yeah, that's going to be a problem. There is more than one me. He covered his mouth as Jessica rolled her eyes. Hey, multiple personality disorder isn't something to be ashamed about, wait. She noticed the Ultimatrix. You're a fan of those aliens too, makes me wonder why they vanished for 4 years. How did we make do without superheroes? The bad guys didn't go anywhere. I mean, when I was 10 me and my moms were at a fair and this wizard came out, then Cannonbolt saved my life. Ben sighed as he looked at it, reminded of all the lives probably lost, as he sadly said, yeah. He then remembered meeting Julie at 11 and removing it. I was AF dumbass, he said, crying as he grabbed his head, his ID mask being affected by the tears as it glitched out for a moment, showing his anthro unicorn state. Jessica's eyes widened. AJ, Fluttershy and Pinkie Pie came out and the ground shook. Ben jumped up, his ID mask falling off as he looked at himself then down. Great, I have to pay for those. The redhead blinked as she said, unicorn. She then saw the other 3 girls had fallen over, ID mask knocked off as this large steam drill came out and a man came out. Greetings, I am Steam Smite, and is that a unicorn? Doesn't matter, I will knock this world back to the steam age. He said as his drill's tentacle-tipped drills went in for a smash, making Ben slam on the dial to become Cannonbolt before going ultimate mid-roll to grab Jessica and get her out of the way as the drills smashed him sieves on his shell, breaking his drills against the organic metal plating. Cannonbolt then unrolled and instead of bring freaked out Jessica smiled. I finally get to met my hero. She said happily. He noticed Ben was about to say something and she said, pan definition only caring about the soul inside. The girls got up and AJ said, Pinkie with me, AHS ain't letting Ben fight that thing alone. The Steam bad guy held out his hands, yes get the girl out of here so we can handle this like men. Jessica turned as she said, the hell did you just say? Smite rolled his eyes, such a pretty face shouldn't say such bad words let alone yell at a man. Ben rolled back up and took off, hitting you harder now, he said spinning as he fired off his metal spikes forward hitting the tentacle joints making them drop. He only had the top drill with Ben hit smashing in. Smite then pulled a SWCH a few times till it worked making the drill and technical joints drop revealing a simple steam-powered mech. With tank tread lower body and mace fists that swung at the ultimate only for the two Anthro-Earth ponies to slide in and get the treads in leaving it unable to move forward. And then Fluttershy grabbed and lifted the man up and said, gee you are heavier than you look. The man growled and hit her arms with his metal-covered fist, unhand me woman. He then fell and when he crashed everyone's jaw dropped. He got up the left side of his body smashed in like a car wreck showing he was a steam-powered robot, with steam escaping from the sides. The ultimate unrolled and said, steam-powered android impressive really impressive, he said pointing at him. Steam Smite tried to speak but all that came out was steam sounds as Ben rolled and hit him breaking him before timing out and he said, okay sisters we got to roll. News crews coming in our ID mask broken. Jessica said, hold up I want to know more. She said getting in the front seat of the car machining Pinkie Pie get in between Applejack and Fluttershy in the back, darn it I got the hump. Later on at Yellowstone Ben's car pulled up at a campsite as Ben got out, sorry I am late gang things got complicated with when the steam-powered robot driving a steam-powered robot in a steam-powered robot showed up. It was like a steampunk nesting doll. Fluttershy got up, and Ben got a girlfriend. She said happily before adding, and as she was planning on going backing she end up coming along hope that isn't a problem mom and dad. Ben then opened the door and helped out a blushing Jessica. Applejack got out and said, that their steam robot was sexiest against women. Ben smashed him up good. Pinkie Pie got out rubbing her peach, I had to take the hump. I hate the hump. And all the potholes and speed bumps. I mean America needs to tend to its roads more for crying out loud. Carl smiled and said, what, your name MS? Jessica smiled, Jessica Jackson nice to meet you Mr. Tennyson, I mean I feel like I am down the rabbit hole with all the aliens magical creatures and I am loving it, she said happily as she pulled Ben into a hug. Twilight blinked as she looked Jessica, those are as big as Pinkie's, she said covering hers. Later on Ben was walking with Jessica when he came to an impact creator, look it's still here where I found the Omnitrix or where it almost crushed me thanks to mistaking me for my grandpa. Jessica smiled, really what happened next? Ben turned the dial to Heat Blast and said, I hit the dial and turned into Heat Blast it's why you see so much burns around here I turned into a walking flame in the middle of a forest grandpa had the idea to stop it with backfire where you get to flames to burn into each other and that makes them snuff out. Unknown to them the 6 former elements were watching. Pinkie Pie had 2 candles and when the flames touched they went out and she whispered, how even. Twilight even blinked at that stunned, I know right. Next Ben kicked a piece of orange metal, even this things are here Vilgax's old drones they came for the watch and I was wild mud I was literally jumping around the forest as the only alien in the Omnitrix that is in the caveman phase, smashing robots with rocks trees and my own claws and jaws. Fluttershy giggled while spying, it's like in that movie Dashy likes. Next they came to the vine-covered giant robot as Jessica said, let me guess way big? Ben shook his head and put his hands in his pocket, no I only had 10 and the only reason I have more than that is the random glitches that turn me into another alien. I didn't have way big then it was Diamond Head. I figured a guy made of crystal won't die if he was stepped on, it worked but the metal was harder than my crystals thank goodness my cousin thought to reflect the laser back at it. Next day I was picking up camp as XLR8. In Yellowstone Park at their campsite Twilight was relaxing on her laptop as she read, reports of Yellowstone of a unicorn on top of a Pegasus okay she said I twitching at a bad image of her new parental figures. As did the other girls at the site. Fluttershy was holding a little bunny petting it, gross. Rainbow's eyes twitched, so they said they were going for a hike to outside like an animal, she said grabbing the sides of her head. Rarity shivered as she was looking at a fashion book, oh my. Applejack's left eye twitched, what's if a little colt of filly saw them? That would ruins the magic and fantasy of foalhood. Pinkie Pie then blinked and said, yeah what, next unicorn and a mermaid, she then looked over her shoulder and winked, whispering, I read the script you'll get it in a few chapters. Meanwhile, Ben was still with Jessica. He was kicking at the old damaged robot. How is it still here? You think someone would have cleaned it up? I mean it's alien tech, should the government have taken it to reverse engineer at least, he said, hands in his pocket, ID mask off as it was the woods the deep part. A voice that sounded computerized said, someone has. Both Ben and Jessica turned the girl hiding behind Ben, as they saw what looked like a robotic humanoid with all parts of a human, but its head was a jar with a brain with a robotic eye in it and a speaker as it said, greetings BEN10, I am Professor Albert Animo. Ben looked at his watch and said, let me guess, Dr. Animo is your brother. The robot's left hand flipped into a cannon as he pointed, yes, while my brother didn't say you were a non-human sentient. A red dot appeared on Jessica's forehead. I can adjust for it by using your emotions against you. I can fire before you can transform. In a moment a magic barrier appeared as the professor fired, hitting the dome as Ben hit the dial, becoming chromastone. The alien crossed his arms and said, and what was that, Professor? Brain in a jar. The cyborg said, does not compute, that power belongs to Gwendolyn Tennyson. Ben then held out his hand, firing off a rainbow blast, knocking off the robotic body's gun arm. As what looked like silver versions of the old drones came up as the Animo turned to run, escape, regroup and upgrade. Ben was firing on drones while Jessica behind him ducked, picked up a stick and jammed it into the gears, making one break as she smiled, spinning the thing like a staff and continuing to do that, avoiding laser fire by jumping out of the way as the weapons charged with their red flash. Ben was firing on the machines before hitting the dial to become Echo Echo, where he went ultimate, summoning the sonic disc to appear and scream the drones apart. We need to return to camp, he said, picking up Jessica as he flew off, and she blinked, ultimate Echo Echo can fly. Ben nodded as he landed back at camp, and Applejack said, you'll heard about the reports of Mom and Dad? The shapeshifter set Jessica down and said, no, but Animo's cyborg brother is running around. Wait, what report? Jessica pulled out her phone, then showed Ben, and he turned around and threw up what looked like digital code and musical notes before timing out. Ben coughed and said, okay, that's worse than the brain in a jar on a robot running around. Meanwhile in Yellowstone the professor was walking as he came to a camp in a cave to see Dr. Animo, as the doctor said, regret getting rid of your organic body yet, brother? The professor showed images of Ben and his new powers. Information given on BEN10 was false. Animo seemed shocked. Oh brother, not false, outdated. It appears Tennyson turned himself into something else to be able to use anodite abilities. It's fascinating, truly is, he said, looking at something as he loaded something into his mutated ray. Well, I am finished now. I found a shard-formed diamond head in this park. While its DNA is crystalline, it still holds the DNA samples of the original 10 aliens Mr. Tennyson had. He said as he pointed to cells holding a snake, a bear and a mountain lion. He then fired, making the snake grow stinkfly wings and eyes. The bear became crystalline and the mountain lion's body to shift so it looked like Wildmutt with cat ears and a tail roaring. See, he then shot a bat, remaking Heat Bat. The professor saw the creatures remaining still under the doctor's control. Statement. They will not be enough. My drones have confirmed other life forms like Ben with logically the same anodite powers as Tennyson. He said, showing now images of the elements and the now returning Tennyson parents. Doctor held his chin. I see, but I've handled Ben and anodite and an upstart mutant just fine with my animals. Granted I didn't beat them, but I never got my arm blasted off. The professor then said, uncalled for twin. The doctor put his arm around his brother's robotic shoulder. Now brother, let us remember we are two greatest minds in our fields. Me genetics, you cybernetics. That gives us an edge, if we should say combine our forces. The professor said, question, what do you have in mind? Animo let go and said, simple, we release your robotic army and my mutant army to give us time to create the ultimate life form. A beast-made form, alien DNA, genetic might upgraded by robotic parts, but first a token of trust. he said, zapping his brother, making the brain turn to be made of upgrade matter and lines, even complete with the eye as the dome shattered and it spread to the rest of the body, upgrading it, giving it 2 arms as it morphed to a green version of the Mechamop armor. Animo then said, there, your last organic part is now technorganic, able to enhance the robotic parts while giving them organic regenerative powers. The professor moped his new left arm into a laser sword, then a cannon, as he said, yes, very good brother, I accept your peace offering, he said happily with a robotic echo. He shall now release our armies upon Yellowstone while we create the ultimate life form. But what of its base? Animo walked over to a pod and opened it up to reveal what looked like a clone of him. I kept your discarded parts as spares, let's use it, shall we? Professor said, logical in all factors, we shall upgrade my discard organic flesh. Let us begin. Meanwhile, all of Yellowstone was running form Animo's 4 mutant armies and robotic drones. Twilight was flying, zapping drones. I have so many questions. Fluttershy was staring at a crystal bear till she growled, making it shatter. This isn't right. Rainbow was flying and crying, form a heat bat swarm, leave me alone you flaming bats. Rarity was in a dome shaking, holding an equally shaking Applejack, biting at it was the snake bugs and mountain lion wildmutts as they cried. Pinkie then showed up with a hammer, smashing them all. Die die die. Meanwhile, Carl and Sandra were returning to the campsite to see the Animo brothers waiting, and they gasped in horror as a shadow casted over them. Ben was running through Yellowstone as Blitzwolfer with Jessica behind him as he heard something and turned to see her using a branch as a staff to knock out one of the wildmutt bootlegs out cold. He then growled happily at the sight. That is when he saw something and he turned and said, oh, that's gross. It looked like Kevin's old mutant form but with a bigger Ripjaw's jaw. The left wildmutt arm was replaced with a cannon that was covered in Mechamop matter by a tube formed the back to it. It pointed its arm, firing at Ben. He grabbed his girlfriend and jumped for it as the Amazon brothers walked up as he added, and double gross. Professor Animo spoke up, do you like our MSTR work? By combining cybernetics with genetics we have created this mighty beast, he said it, charging, making Ben hit his tail and change. The former werewolf doubled in size but was now clearly a quadruped creature. Its tail was long, thin, lizard-like but covered in hair and bone spikes. Its head split into 3, growing 2 horns above the eyes. The only clothing was a green collar around the middle head's neck with held the dial as it opened its mouth, letting out 3 massive supersonic howls, knocking the cyborg mutant away. Dr. Animo held his head as the professor got a jet back and flow off, most escaped before brain jar shattered. Jessica covered her ears as she cried, it's like a drill in one ear, a drill in another, and they are meeting in the middle. The alien then stopped and said, sorry Jessica. He then opened his middle mouth for a roar, but while the humans didn't hear nothing, the mutant was holding its head, screaming in pain. The left head said, we'll make this below human hearing. That head and the other joined in. The mutant charged, maddened by the sound, trying to knock Ben into the river below. The creature hit with an impact that was visible underwater. The 3 wolf heads struggling to hold their breath, the beast above him too heavy to swim or move. It would die here underwater, and it was trying to take him with. Animo held his chin, not what I had in mind, but it's a win, he said, turning to leave, happily whistling in joy as he believed he had victory over BEN10 at long last. Only for him to hear a splash and turn back to see a green human-sized fish tail, going under. No no no. That's impossible. She then noticed that Jessica's girl's shirt and pants, and he blinked. She couldn't be. Underwater. Ben timed out and was still holding his breath, struggling the now dead mutant on top of him when his eyes widened. There in what looked like a green bikini was Jessica, but her legs were a green mermaid tail, and she grabbed his face and kissed him, doing air into the unicorn's mouth as she used her tail to knock the mutant off and grab him, pulling him above the water. Ben gasped for air as Jessica helped him to the shore. He stepped out, and in a moment Jessica hopped out, showing her status as a mermaid before her tail became legs, leaving her in her green bikini button and top. And that is why I always wear a bikini under my cloths. Don't ask me how the tail works, I have no clue. Animo's jaw dropped as he pointed, I am sorry, but Mr. Tennyson, are you currently a unicorn talking to your mermaid girlfriend? Ben looked back and said, evidently, he said, shrugging before he spat out water and looked to the Ultimatrix and turned into 4 arms. Who was in his Omniverse outfit, and he hit the dial on his belt. In a moment 4 arms changed, as did his outfit. He was in the ultimate alien version now but with black pants and black fingerless gloves about the wristbands. He had 6 arms now, was slightly larger, had a purple skin color, and he gained 2 faces on side of his head as form his forehead's 2 horns grow, giving him a crown-like line of 6 horns. The new Ultimate banged its fist together as the left face sadly said, "Ultimate," the middle head happily said, "For," and the right face finished with an angry call of RMS. In moments the Ultimate was on top of Animo and he was crushing Animo's mutant ray as the sad face said, "You realize," the middle face happily, "this means I have to," the mad face finished with, "beat you into paste." Animo shivered, "Wait, I kidnapped your parents, do that, you will never see them again." Jessica was putting her jeans and shoes back on before putting her top back on to cover her bikini. "How we can track them with his aliens," she added. Animo added, "There's a bomb with a timer." The Ultimate's 12 eyes looked right into Animo's and the madman pissed his pants as he said, "Okay, I was lying about the bomb, be gentle." All 3 Ultimate 4-arm faces said, "No." Animo's screams of pain echoed through the park. Later on the main 6 and Jessica was following Ultimate Wildmutt's nose as Pinkie said, "So you're a mermaid?" Jessica shrugged, "Didn't find out till I was in the tub at 13 and boom, my legs went tail shocked my mother's to high hell. Lucy and Jessie, they said they found me floating down a river, but that was weird." Applejack adjusted her hat and added, "Well, that's something. Maybe we'll find your BRTH parents or something," she said, just stunned at the mermaid. Rarity rolled her eyes, "Why, her mothers loved her, making her real. I am sure if it was she was lost in a storm of something, her biologic family is missing her," she said, doing her nail. "But what of those mutant aliens?" Twilight was working on the mutant ray, already caged them. "Knocked them out with Guttrick's powers and Ben used upgrade to return them to normal with this thing with I am just fascinated by," she said, looking at its remains. Fluttershy then said, "You should have smashed Animo up more, big brother," she said flatly. Rainbow said, "Yeah," she sounded nervous and backed away from Fluttershy, so she added, "And Mom and Dad?" Ben said, "You can't mistake the smell of a PRGN Pegasus," he added, making them all jump. They then came to the Animo's former lair and bite open the cage and then said, "Hi Mom and Dad, Mom, your PRGN and Jessica is a mermaid," he then timed out. Sandra was red and Carl blinked. Later on, laying in the back seat of his car, Ben had Jessica on top of him as he asked, "So earliest memory?" She held her chin, "River water, Bubbles fish, then my mommy's holding me," she said, blinking at the memory. Ben hummed as he said, "Where did they find you at?" The lady held her chin and said, "The Mississippi River, so no telling where or how far I drifted." Later on down the road. The RV was parked and wearing his ID mask, Carl walked over arms crossed as he looked to Rarity, who was sitting looking on a tablet while wearing her ID mask, and the ID mask wearing Rainbow had earbuds and watching a movie on her phone when he unplugged something, making them lost signal. They jumped up as he said, "It may be a road trip but you still have chores to do. And you're the only ponies not, so no Wi-Fi till you do them," he said, pointing to a stack of papers. He then left with the rest. Rarity was crying, "No, I can't be out of touch with fashion." Rainbow then shocked her saying, "Get a hold of yourself, woman." The blue girl removed her ID mask to take on her true face. Rainbow then removed Rarity's, "Middle of nowhere, in the sands of who knows where we are missing hiking look, we can take the ID masks off and use our powers, be gone in a little while," she said, reading the papers, "It's just cleaning the inside and out. Look, you have magic, so you take the can, you can do it form range, and you'll need to form what comes out of Pinkie Pie." Rarity shivered as Rainbow said, "I'll clean the rest of the inside at high speed, then all that's left is the outside with I'll do while you do the laundry." Unknown to them, outside 2 strange things were sniffing. A cat-sized humanoid roach with a human head looked to a large bulky human body with a roach head as he said, "You smell that, Sydney?" The other made bug sounds as the first one said, "You don't have to call me Maurice every time you talk." "But yes, and it is the stink we need, we just wait for the ones inside to come out." In a moment Rainbow came out, as did Rarity, who gasped, "I need air." That is when Maurice on the bumper said, "What in the world?" The 2 ladies jumped into a hug and screamed, what the freak show? The human head on a bug body rolled his eyes. I am mad science head swap. What the hell are you two? He asked. The hugging adopted sisters blinked and said, we are aliens. Rainbow Dash blinked, wait, if you're a human head on a bug body then that means, in a moment she was punched and hit the ground as she said, yep, someone has that big person fist. Rarity turned and screamed of the bug head on a human body, don't touch me, she said, making a dome of energy around herself, shivering as the two walked in and stole the RV, driving off. Rainbow got up and yelled, you let them steal it. Rarity was shivering as she cried, dirty bugs. The blue lady rolled her eyes as kicked the unicorn's barrier and grabbed her, come on, we got to get it back or we are in bigger trouble than no internet. She said, flying along, dragging her, making Rarity scream, my mane. They then came to a canyon as Rainbow pointed, okay, we stop it, I fight the bugs. With this, she said, holding a can of bug spray, gotten by putting on my pocket ID mask. Okay Rarity, I need you to make an energy wall. The white mare held her hands out and did just that with a smile as the RV drive up and throw it, making it shatter, and the two ladies blinked. The rainbow-haired one groaned, stupid alien tech, see our house. Had to be anodite proof, she said, yelling. Next stop, Rainbow said, okay, this time new plan. I am going to use good old Pegasus touch the clouds to make a story to force them to pull over, use magic to unlock the door, I go in and bug spray them. Rarity nodded as her adopted sister flew up into the sky high above them all as she said, hope this works. She said, flying around to make wind funnels as she then flew up, kicking the clouds, making it rain. In the RV, Maurice rolled his eyes, really bad weather. Sydney, who was driving, point and made bug sounds as the other one said, right, we do have that underground tunnel to our lair. He then pulled out something and hit a button as a tunnel opened up as they driving underground, so the storm did not matter. Rainbow Dash growled and yelled out, F. She said before lighting hit her, leaving her covered in ash as she coughed out smoke and walked over to Rarity, who was under an umbrella, as she said, not one word. Later on they had lost them, but Rarity said, relax Dashy, we just need a signal and we can use the Find My Phone app on my phone for yours. Rainbow grabbed her adopted sister and flew up and said, tell me when. Rarity said, when. They then followed it to a dump, where they looked at the TV cleaned. As Rarity blinked, they stole our RV to clean it. Rainbow then looked inside and said, wait, where are my lucky socks? That is when they saw the bugs loading in junk into a machine with made a magnet, and Dashy ran up and sprayed them with bug spray, die. They screamed as the tiny one said, hate crime doesn't matter with those socks, we have enough dirt to power up the magnet, he said, hitting an on button, making Rarity scream as maggots came flying to the magnet. Rarity held her face, what horrible thing is this? Before long the maggots formed a bipedal monster screaming. Rainbow dropped her can, going to need a bigger can. Maurice got up and smirked, doesn't matter, my magnet would just summon more maggots. Get it, maggot magnet. Now my monster is going to eat Las Vegas, all of it, but the money we will collect with the sieve. Both ladies shivered in horror at the plan, but Rarity said, you stole our RV to use its dirt and my sister's dirty socks to build a maggot magnet to make a monster to eat Las Vegas to sieve its duty for money. You sick, twisted, disgusting creature. The magnet monster roared, only for Rarity to shoot an energy beam through her horn at the magnet, making it fall apart, covering everything in maggots, making her scream. Rainbow shivered, I'll make it rain. We wash ourselves, the new roll the RV through the car wash after putting on ID masks, the new cry, and eat ice cream till the others come home. Rarity nodded as she cried, good plan. Later on they all came back to a clean RV and Carl replugged in the Wi-Fi. The two adopted sisters hugged and cried, we did it. Meanwhile in the dump Sydney was rowing a boat through the maggots and Maurice said, shut up, how was I supposed to know a unicorn would show up and shoot the magnet? The bigger one nodded in defeat, yielding to the point as the smaller one said, just row so we can get out of here and plot vengeance. While in the RV Pinkie Pie shivered as she watched Sandra dip a pickle in chocolate and eat it, that is grosser than those fruit juice pickles. Applejack looked green as she headed into the bathroom to throw up for motion sickness. That is when Ben's voice came up on the phone. Me and Jessica are going to take a dart off. We are where her mom's found her, he said as he car went for the turn off. Rarity rolled her eyes. Now AJ, is this motion sickness or that sandwich from the gas station with had mayo? Fluttershy was reading a book with a blush. It's the gas station mayo, I can smell it, she said holding her nose. Meanwhile Ben's car pulled into an off-road trail, so Jessica and Ben got out, and in a moment, Jessica was already in her bikini as she slid into the river aglow, making her tail appear. Ben put his ID mask on his seat as he locked the car and turned into Ripjaws and slide in his legs, becoming a tail as he swam behind Jessica, who seemed to be drowned to something. She then spotted something, a pearl shining, and they pocked it, and what looked like a portal opened as they swam through. As Ben said, this is either going to be cool or bad. Too early to tell. They then came to ruins of an underwater city and a tower that seemed to go from the ocean floor to the sky. They came up and looked up. The sky looked like a rainbow, much like the sea life was glowing rainbow and way larger, leaving the only guess as this was another world. Ben commented and said, okay portal, but I haven't seen any other mermaids, not that I have taken my eyes off you. Jessica blushed red and held her face. They then head back down into the tower and Jessica's eyes widen as skeletons of mermen and mermaids. Ben then said, well now this is something you don't want to see. All for me going clockwork and getting us out of here. Jessica waved her tail no as she said, I can't Ben, I need to know what happened and if I really am the last little mermaid. Ripjaws then made a T with his hands. Time out cutie, let's look at facts, shall we? All those bones have teeth marks, something eat them. Something came up in here, killed everyone and eat their bodies. And it was probably that thing that now lay dead. He said, pointing to what looked like the bones of an angler fish crossed with a sea snake as big as a 2-story bus and as long as an interstate. Jessica jumped into Ben's arms at the sight of the bones as Ben said, look around here, it most have figured the glowing sea creatures were poisonous, or who knows, maybe after running out of mers he tried to eat one and it was poison and it died. Jessica blinked and said, but that makes no sense. If it was a native life form my people should have known how to handle it. The alien said, Jessica my lovely little mermaid, what makes you think it's native? One of those portal things could have malfunctions and pulled it in. The mermaid looked down sadly as she sighed. Ben then became clockwork as she swarmed through the portal back to the Mississippi River, followed by Ben, who timed out, making Jessica carrying him up where they got out, and he said, I am sorry. Jessica rested her head on her boyfriend's chest, hugged him and cried, I feel so alone. There isn't another thing like me anywhere. Ben held her as he got out of the water, taking her with him, making her tail turn back into legs as he blushed and said, yet I mean, who knows, we could start a family someday. In a moment she jumped up, kissing him and wrapping her arms around his neck. Meanwhile down the road the Tennysons were wearing their ID mask to appear human as they came out, and Rainbow waved her hand in front of her nose. God damn it Pinkie Pie, what are you eating? Pinkie Pie held her stomach and said, I can't help it if those candy bars don't agree with me, but they are good. She pulled out a candy bar only for Twilight to slap it away. Rarity shivered, as she pointed and said, oh look, some dusty old town called Sparksville. A guy named Earl came up and said, mind the signs. As Ben's car came up and he got out, appearing human holding a crying Jessica, and Ben pointed and said, Earl man, it's me Ben, remember I mistakenly let Megawatt out as a kid? Earl blinked and in an emotionless tone said, please tell me the 8 I just greeted ain't your kin. Carl coughed and said, sorry to disappoint. Earl then pulled out a phone and made a call and said, yeah they's back with more kin, yes you all going to work hard today, he said emotionless. That is when Pinkie Pie had skipped ahead wearing sunglasses as she said, big bro look, they look like Buzzshock, she said tapping the light bulb. At with point it cracked and her eyes widened as the megawatts flow out, only for Ben to turn into Buzzshock as the mayor looked at him and said, and how is this going to help, he said without emotion while Pinkie was just wide-eyed. Ben flew up and was making static sounds at the other megawatts who held their chins thinking as Earl asked, is he trying to reason with them? Twilight shrugged as she said, I don't know. The megawatts held their chins as Ben continued before laughing with him, but Ben raised a hand to stop it as he kept doing it. The megawatts then flew off as Ben said, I told them how to get home, so they left. He then timed out his ID mask falling off as he gasped. Earl just handed him the mask, Unicorn, why am I not surprised? Use everything else, but now what about the world's largest light bulb, he said with no emotion. Pinkie Pie smirked as a light post behind her went up. I think I might be able to fix my goof. Later on, the light bulb was glowed back together, filled like lots of natural glowing slime form a cave nearby, so it was still lit up, or at least at night. Earl watched it light up as the sun set as he said, "That's will do," he said coldly, walking off before point at Pinkie, and she said, "Mind the signs, young lady." The mayor then walked to Ben and asked, "So where is they's home?" Ben then smiled and said, "This the Nosedine Quasar." Earl looked confused, so he said, "It's like a star, but it's bleeding light, lighting and fire out of two massive holes in itself. Now they weren't born there, but it lets out enough to keep them feed." Earl held his chin as he said, "Oh, I see, so they is lighting come to life. It was just space lighting. That makes more sense than aliens," he said, walking off as Ben shrugged. Carl then said, "The RV should be done, so let's get going. New York, here we come." Days later in New York, wearing their ID masks, Fluttershy and Twilget were looking around as Fluttershy said, "I honestly want to fly around to see more of this city." Twilight nodded as she saw a massive library and her jaw dropped. "Oh hell yeah," she said, walking into it as Fluttershy came in, and Twilight went right to one section, books on PRGNNCY. "What our adopted mom is PRGN and want to know what to expect, giving what we know is only half right now," she said in a whisper as she opened a book and started reading. Fluttershy then walked off when she noticed a big fallen over on the shell and picked it up, and her eyes widened as there was a picture of Discord. She opened it and read it. It was set up like a fairy tale, The Story of the Cursed Child, she said, reading the title. She read it. It showed an image of this Professor Paradox she had heard about, falling in love in some medieval kingdom with a woman dressed in black and green with a hood up. The warrior wizard came to the land far away and fell in love with its sickly princess, who was unable to walk in the light of day thanks to some strange sickness. She turned the page to see Paradox singing her a song as she smiled. They looked happy, but in the background some dark figure came to be. But their love was sickened by the dark wizard who wanted the throne. He cast a spell upon Princess Lead. Despite her sickness, she would give BRTH to 13 children, each one zapping away her life force. The final one would not be human, but the manifestation of the curse, a monsters of chaos that would not naturally know love of friendship and would want to cast his powers, gained form his mighty magic father for evil, as it would be its idea of fun. She turned the page to read as she read. The good wizard took the woman he loved away to a far-off land to give BRTH to the children, finding the completely normal first 12 babies homes where they would be loved till the day came. The picture now showed what had to be an infinite Discord crying on top of the dead princess. Before flying off as Paradox tried to chase him, the wizard stated the cursed child had flown off shortly after BRTH into the land known as Jersey. He would find the child and send him to a place where others would contain his son and hopefully bring the curse, so his son's mind would be his own, so he could use his powers for good, a hope he feared would never come to be. She was crying as she closed it and held it. She had heard stories of the Jersey Devil, but this book pretty much printed it as Discord. She was crying as Twilight showed up and she handed her the book, Discord's Origin. Later on, while walking, Twilight held her head saying, "The Jersey Devil is Discord. Paradox is his daddy." Fluttershy wiped a tear and said, "Jersey is right across from the ocean." Twilight, I know it's risky, but we need to head out. Let's hide in the alley, put the ID mask in our handbags and fly off. We need to know more. The Alicorn in disguise nodded as they did just that. Coming to an old creepy house in Jersey that had long since been abandoned but no one had seemed to find, they walked in to see the bones of a woman on a bed in a white dress, frozen at the moment of death, hands like it was holding a child. This was the mother of Discord. The way her dead arms were frozen showed despite everything she loved him. She loved her baby. Paradox then appeared and spoke up, "Happy with what you found, girls?" The two adopted sisters jumped into each other's arms, formed the shock before calming down as Fluttershy said, "No, we didn't tell Discord, I am sorry." Paradox then said, "You can tell him yourself, he'll be arriving soon." The purple one looked out to see chocolate rain coming down as Discord appeared. In a moment he and Fluttershy locked eyes, and in a moment they hugged and cried. Fluttershy said, Though I would never see you again, I am so sorry about what happened with your mom. She loved you, Discord, don't think otherwise." Discord held her crying, I thought you were dead and this visit to my mother's resting place with my dad would be extra sad, but now the lady who taught me love is alive." They looked at each other teary-eyed before kissing, eyes close, Fluttershy holding his face as his hands were on her peach. Twilight backed up saying, "I am going to give you all some alone time now," she said, stepping out with a gasp on her lips. While Paradox smiled, his son had become a good boy like he and his mother wished. The wizard had lost. Elsewhere in New York, Ben was walking in a museum, ID mask on, hands in his pocket. Jessica was back at the RV telling her mothers what she found. He had met them form live chat. They didn't seem to mind their mermaid daughter dating a unicorn. He came to a place from medieval times where he came to a coffin that held a natural mummified body, as he said, the Dark One believed to be a powerful wizard, not dead but sleeping. "Well, I know magic, so I guess it wouldn't be a shock if you woke up," he said, looking at the natural mummified body in a black robe and hood with a golden necklace with a red gem that seemed to be fused into the dead flesh, and in a moment its eyes opened glowing red as Ben jumped back as he said, "Okay, it's kind of a shock." The undead being got up, its bones cracker as they returned to normal shape, and it held out its hand, making the glass around it shatter as people ran scream, and Ben hit his watch, becoming big chill so the shards couldn't hurt him as he breathed ice, freezing the shards in place. The Dark One spoke up, "My curse didn't work." Paradox is happy, as is his son Discord. "I took everything from them and they smile," he said in rage, holding his hands out to shoot fireballs. Ben froze them as he went ultimate, breathing ice fire upon the being, freezing it. Only for the lich to walk out as it said, "It's impossible. I took it all from him," and he smiled. How can he do that?" he said, holding his hands out, firing off a ball of lighting with was black sparking purple at Ben. Ben went to fly out of the way, but it hit him, zapping him, making him reach for the dial, where he turned into Shocksquatch, were absorbed and fired back the lighting. "Really? What you on a boot?" The lich flying through the roof into the sky. How can he dare?" Tio smile. "I made his only true child a monster, a demon in form and soul, and he smiles." Ben ran out, hitting the dial to become Jetray, where he flows, zapping him with eye beams. "Let's see now, I pet that bling is important," he said, frying a tail beam at it, breaking it, making the lich scream in pain as the flesh on his left side vanished, leaving it nothing but bone. Ben nodded and said, "Totally a soul jar," he said, avoiding making lighting bolts. Ben then hit the dial, turning into Snarrow as he said, "Undead must fight unliving," he said, turning his dial, going ultimate. The mummy's bandages became golden, showing their organic metal nature now as the head grows spikes, the mouth open, showing teeth as spikes grow from the bandages all over him. The headdress gained a moon-like symbol as he held out his hand, summoning a cyclone to send at the lich. The undead thing held its hand out, summoning its own vortex. How can he smile? In a moment Ben's bandages behind him went underground, coming up behind and stretching all the way to the air, where it wrapped around the undead being, slashing the necklace off, making it turn into bone as it fell, only for the bandages to stretch and pull it to Ben. The ultimate Snarrow hissed an unnatural sounding hiss as he crushed it, making the undead being fall down, truly dead. Some days later in the RV as they rolled, Applejack was laying on the couch and said, "Us bored. So bored," she said, crossing her legs. Pinkie Pie then sat down beside her. "Really? I mean, we went from finding Discord's origins, to Lich, to that thing we are not a library to talk about, to Zomboso trying to drink Rainbow's soul," she said, pointing to Rainbow, who was shaking and crying out, "I will ever trust a clown again." Applejack was playing around with a Rubik's Cube as she said, "Yeah, but that was days ago. We've been stuck in this tin can for too longs, I say, that is when they stopped," as Carl said, "and we are here." Applejack rolled her eyes as she looked out the window as she got out, smiling. "They were in a forest, she said, blinking as she head out to see black wood and leaves, making her eyes widen as she looked down at black grass and black flowers. Pinkie Pie walked out and pointed a black dove. Mother Nature went emo, she said, stunned as a crow fly by, saying, "Nevermore." Pinkie Pie jumped and hid behind Carl, shaking as Fluttershy. Pinkie crows and ravens can mimic long like their cousins the parrot," she said with an eye roll. Twilight blinked as she poked a black mushroom with her hoof and said, "Learn something new every day now. Where are we? Did we travel dimensions or planets or something?" Ben's car pulled out as he got out. "No, we are still on Earth. Welcome to the Shadow Woods," he said, putting a hand on a tree. this is more cryptic than alien, so we are crossing on the lines of the Red Spot Secret Scientist Agreement, but we are all cryptical creatures so we can come visit. This secret location hidden away in the middle of Louisiana is our next stop. Pinkie Pie blinked as she jumped at a black pigeon and she said, "Why are we in the land of emos? I mean, I get why it's hidden, but still. What is this?" Applejack was eye widen at a black apple as Ben said, "It's safe to eat and simple. We are looking for family. We have a cousin who became a secret scientist instead of a plumber, so we are here to lend him a hand. Just stay mindful of the locals. If anything offers you something, take it. Don't say your name. Don't ask for a name. Nothing has a name, got it?" They all nodded. That is when Applejack blinked and Pinkie Pie screamed to see it was now just them as Ben's voice came. "This is the forest effect, don't worry," he said, stepping out, appearing like he was walking through a wall when he was just taking a step. "See, some spots of the forest won't let you see others, so step forward." The two sisters did so, returning to their family as Applejack bite the apple nervously. "What in tarnation?" Carl point to AJ, "That's what you need to do, eat any of the fruits. The forest effect doesn't work, it's how you don't get lost." Later on when the sun was setting, Pinkie Pie and AJ were on a trail. As Pinkie Pie point with a flashback, "Relax AJ, we just keep eating the fruit, we can't get lost, so come on, let's look for our adopted cousin." AJ was behind her shaking. "I take it back, I would rather be's bored," she said as they came to what looked like a house in the middle of the trail and Pinkie Pie knocked. That is when what looked a silhouette answered and asked, "What can I do for you ladies?" AJ's eyes widened while Pinkie said, "Your house is in the middle of the trail, so instead of getting lost, can we just walk through to your back door?" The shadow stepped to the side, letting them do that. When they followed the trail, then came to something creepy in the middle. They came to what looked like a human explorer who looked up. He had no face and he cried saying, "I said my name and they took it." AJ then screamed and woke up on the RV. It was all just a dream as she blinked and said, "What did us eat?" Sandra then held up a hand, "Dark Woods Dream." AJ's eyes widened as her adopted mother said, "It means you, it's here and looking for you." She sounded sad and worried as they pulled off. Ben parked, coming out Omnitrix on his wrist as he head down a trail. As everyone who was confused followed, they came to what looked like a patch of black forest, black grass, black trees like in the dream, with a crow saying, "Turn back." Fluttershy point at it, "I know they talk like parrots but still creepy and unsettling." AJ was eyes widened as she yelled out, "OKS, this is too much like my dreams, what is going on?" She said, scared, hugging Pinkie Pie, who hugged her back. Pinkie's mane and tail fell flat as she cried. The pink pony girl then said, "Yeah, what is this?" Ben looked through his aliens as he hit it, turning into goop as became swampfire now fully bloomed, as he said, "Unfinished business. I remember you, come out." The trees rearranged as Ben walked and the others want to leave, but Carl and Sandra stopped him. "This is between Ben and his cousin." Jessica then blinked and said, "Okay, Mermaid wants to know what's going down in this emo forest." Sandra sighed, "My mother told me stories of a beast in the woods that would replace anyone who said its name before it and make it the new monster. I told the story then when he was 6, before he had the Omnitrix, my family met the monster, his young male cousin. We can't even remember him. He said his name in panic when it asked and became it." This is a personal stop for Ben. There is no way to return the poor boy to normal, but the curse can be ended. Pinkie Pie then felt lightheaded. "It's a mercy killing," she said, fainting onto AJ. On the trail Swampfire went ultimate. It still looked the same way, just bigger and wider. As it came to a humanoid black tree that walked, no face, mouth a wide ways, mouth in its stomach that went, "Name say it." Ben held his hands together and fired off one massive fire bomb, destroying the monster, making the forest turn to natural colors as he said, "Goodbye, cousin." Later on in the RV, the girls were looking at an old photo album with Ben and a boy with no face. As Carl sighed, "Ben and his cousin were so close, at least that is what the pictures show, with is all we have left of him, but at least the curse is over, no one else can be hurt by it." Pinkie Pie blinked. "Wait, so the dream meant our cousin was going to try and replace Applejack and make her the tree thing or whatever?" Sandra nodded and AJ fainted, and she won't wake up anytime soon. The world is full of mysteries, the universe more so. Not all of them are good, so one must learn sometimes the hard way what answers to chase after and with things to leave alone. Alyson the Tennyson clearly learned the hard way. In his car while driving, Ben shed a tear as she said, "We don't even know his name, just he was family." The following day, Carl was using magic to light the night as he saw it, looked like a bipedal ape with a gator head and gator-like hands. He pulled out what looked like a blaster with a slit up top and fired off a shot, making it roar loud. From the trailer, the RV and Ben's car, everyone came out to see, and Pinkie's eyes widen. "What is that thing?" The monster turned, showing its gator-like tail covered in fur as Carl said, "The skunk ape." "I knew it was real, but..." Seeing it, Rarity undid her night mask and looked at it. "Okay then, but what is it and why is it?" she said, horrified by it. Fluttershy looked sick as she said, "I don't even like that animal." Ben yawned. "If the stories are right, an escaped circus monkey got out, made it to the swamp, married a gator, and that is the baby born of it." Pinkie Pie's eyes widened and her jaw dropped like in an old cartoon as she said, "Gummy must never date a monkey." Rainbow blinked as she dusted off the blue nightgown she was in as she said, "We have got to go catch that." Sandra yawned and came out. "We can't do that, it would break the Red Spot secret scientist agreement," she said, stretching. Twilight blinked and pulled out tablet with had a badge of a red spot plugged on it as she said, "The Red Spot secret scientist agreement. We Red Spots promise to stay out of the way of unsolved mysteries of things native to Earth, if those researching the unexplained who are part of the Union stay away from aliens. So we can't follow that thing as it's not an alien that's pull. I mean, look at us, who are we not just as cryptid as them?" Carl then said, "Me, Sandra and Ben are not naturally like this. You girls weren't born here. So until Sandra gives BRTH bring a baby anthropony into the world who is naturally born like that and an Earth native, we are glassed as aliens and mutants by default. Jessica is a mermaid, but even that may be alien form. How there was a portal to see clearly not belonging to Earth." Ben then yawned, "Or in short, we can't even use loophole to look for it." "Well, now there may be something we can do. But I'll have to wait till morning," he said, heading back to his car to go to sleep. Jessica stretched as she said, "We're going to sleep in shifts, right?" Carl nodded as AJ shivered. "You'd think the gator would have eat the monkey, not make out with its." The next day they were all on a ferry, only ones there, even the driver was a robot. One Twilight was poking with a stick. AJ then blinked and said, "So care to explain why we are on a boat heading to some person's private island?" Ben then looked over the rails and said, "Simple really, the island is owned by a friend," he said as the ship stopped. They then walked up to what looked like a southern plantation, or at least what was once one. Marks were along it and the trees, and the girls gulped. Made worse, getting here had burned away the daylight. The sun was setting, it would be night soon. At the door Sandra opened it and said, "Oh dear, it's open," she said, worried. Twilight was shaking. "Are we about to be scared of the answer to this question? Why is it bad the door is open, and why did you need to show a badge to get the robot to take us here? Why was it hidden in a cave? Why all this?" Ben turned into an alien called Portaler and opened a portal, pulling out a DNA repair gun, and timed out, "Yes, you're a dad, you're the best, shoot, you need the repair gun." Carl took it and loaded the weapon as he said, "Long short of it, my grandpa-in-law used to live in Wisconsin by Bray Road, till one day something happened at night, he start becoming a monstrous massive wolf. At first it was just the full moon, but then every night each time he became more and more of an animal, as the mind is a plaything for the body. He contacted and joined the secret scientist for help. They made this artificial island a cage with an implant in his neck." Applejack was shaking as she heard growling. "Wait, Wyatt, our adopted great-grandpa is the beast of Bray Road," she said, gulping, having read about it in a tourist trap a ways back. She then roared, growling, and turned to see the monster wolf beast. "Hi, great-granddaddy," she said, turning pale as Carl fired the repair gun. The monster flinched and shrunk for a moment as Sandra said, "Grandpa, let it happen, let the repair gun repair your human DNA." The gun did nothing as Ben turned into Blitzwolfer and jumped out, going claw to claw with it in a wolf fight. Jessica blinked. "Sandra, I am sorry, but I don't think there is enough man left in that wolf man for the repair gun to restore him. It's too late." The ponies were hugging as Ben said, "Then go with it," he said, opening his mouth to let out a sonic howl, knocking back the beast as he said, hitting his dial, becoming upgrade and stretching to grab the gun. It merged into his arm and a tube connected to the dial on his chest. Thank you future me for unlocking this guys and some other ones before I meet this pony girls. Okay, let's do this, he said, firing a beam at the wolf man, making him hold his head in pain. If we can't salvage human DNA, let's try and use this. I am currently trying to alter the gun to add in Blitzwolfer's DNA. He is a wolf beast-like thing that has his mind. Maybe that will bring him back. The wolf beast went from black to gray, a sigh of age as his eyes turned solid yellow as he held his head shaking as he said, and it worked, great-grandson. He noticed the ponies, someone going to fill the guy who just got his brain back. What's going on? Later on in the dust-filled house, the beast of Bray rode, sorry, I've been a savage animal for a month, so it's a mess, family. He then reached into the side of his neck and with a claw pulled something out. Don't need that anymore. Rarity shivered at the dirt. We need to clean this place. The great-grandpa dusted off something and opened it up, turning on a SWCH bring on the lights as he said, so Skunk Ape walked up to your camp. That's odd behavior. Normal, it turns form humans if it can. But you're not human, he said, holding his chin. He then dusted off wall and said, finally a speaker computer thing, look up my encounter with Skunk Ape. A wall then print out a picture and Sandra looked at it. You're fought it over a horse. The beast with his head back said, yeah, at the time my instinct may be saying it was just fighting over food, but with my head back, he said, tapping his head, I am willing to pet as it was there with that horse long then for an attack. It wasn't going to eat, it was in love. The pony girls jumped. Ben then turned into Brainstorm and used Twilight's tablet. Let's see now. The security video shows if it was going in a straight line it would have been the trail bunk beds where Rarity and Applejack sleep. The two Mares hugged and yelled, it was after me or her. The wolf man then bent over and threw up. Oh gross, it's here, I can smell it, he said, too busy being sick to be of any help. In a moment the door broke out and it grabbed Applejack, making her scream, and it ran off. She yelled, help, help. Carl drew that gun and from the slit came an energy blade as he ran, stabbing the beast through the back, making it drop. The scared AJ, and I can do that this time as a secret scientist is with us. AJ jumped up crying, it touched my flank, she said, covering it. Pinkie Pie poked the dead beast with a stick. Nope, nope, nope. The great-grandpa then said, while you're here can you stay a few days? I need to get this place fixed up now that my brain is mine again. The following morning on the plantation the heat had make most of the group change outfits. Jessica had a green t-shirt tied up in the front, jean shorts, and cowgirl boots, or in short the hillbilly hot girl look. She smiled as Ben just lost his jacket and ID mask. They were on the porch looking at the tunnel of trees. That is when Twilight walked out, no ID mask showing her throw form, dressed in black bikini top, dark purple sweat pants with the left leg cut off completely and the right cut off at the knee, showing her cutie mark. She had on sandal heels in a black color. Twilget stretched as she said, so this is where we are staying till we go home. Perfect for me, I am not cutting into mermaid unicorn makeout time, am I? Jessica rolled her eyes and said, no, just talking about why the island seems to be artificial. There is some real stuff under it and whatnot that seems to be out of place. I know. I dove under to see if I could see in that murky water. I can, my eyes glow in the dark. And I found something weird. Rarity, dress in your classic outfit in white with purple trim complete with fancy umbrella to keep the sun off of her as she said, something weird you say? Ben nodded and said, yeah, her eye glow isn't strong enough to make it out, but it's metal and something is written on it. Rainbow walked out in a baggy t-shirt that showed her shoulders and midriff. She had on sport black pants and altered sneakers. Like her adopted sister, she got rid of the ID mask as they were alone on this island. Something written on it? Ben nodded as he said, I went down as Ripjaws. It was scary, but it read leave alone or you die. Fluttershy walked out in green short shorts with had the right leg removed so part of her cutie marks could see there, a white tank top and fancy green boots as she adjusted her wings, so let's leave it there till the end of days. Applejack in cowgirl boots, jean shorts, a red shirt tied in the front like Jessica's, and her hat which she adjusted while putting her lasso on her left peach as her tail flailed. Oz thinks we should secons that movement gang. We got a great grandpa werewolf and a gator monkey want to weds me. Let's leaves the crazy alone for it. Pinkie Pie, who was in a button-up shirt, the sleeves ripped up, only 2 buttons in the middle, button showing her stomach and a lot of neckline, and a white bikini top strap with a white bikini button, no shoes, showing her hooves and cutie mark as she stretched and said, "Yeah, it's too hot to go exploring or deal with adventure." Carl walked out shirtless as he said, "Hate to break it to you kids, but we don't have a choice that a speedboat just crashed in the REA and this purple slime is bubbling up." Ben turned into fast track and raced off to the area. To see the river water filled with purple slime bubbles as he bent over and touched one. "What is this stuff?" In a moment the slime formed a shape and something fast hit him. He then looked up to see a all-purple copy of him. Ben hit the dial, turning into heat blast to fire on it before the slime hit the dial, becoming Arctiguana, the omniverse version in all purple, who breathed ice, making the fire turn to steam. A moment later a massive slime spit form, an all-purple version of the original series spitter, knocked Ben back. Heat blast was knocked back and hit the dial, becoming the Ben 10,000 version of Stinkfly as he hovered looking down at it. "Okay, what the hell are you?" The slime Ben timed out to show an all-purple version of his unicorn form, who quickly hit his dial and went alien again, turning into a purple goop before going ultimate to shoot acid at the bug. Ben flew rapidly before hitting the dial, going ultimate. In a moment the bug's wings charged, becoming more butterfly-like. The front hands became pincers, the number of eyes doubles as the green shell became spikier. The ultimate Stinkfly blinked as he avoided slime. "What, that's it, crab claws and some spikes on my back, elbows and legs. I feel ripped off." However, in a moment a swarm of bees flew in the way of a acid shot coming for him and he blinked. "Wait, did I do that?" In a moment he point, making a swarm of mosquitoes attack the slime copy. "My stink controls other bugs. That's nice. And I am in the bayou, so many bugs," he said as the swarm charged, only to be melted by the ultimate goop copy's acid shoots and claws. Ultimate Stinkfly flew off. "Okay, need back up," he said, flowing off, and in a moment the pony girls were throwing up and Jessica held her nose as Ben landed and timed out, saying, "Sorry but have to hurry, that slime turned into a copy of me," and, before long an all-purple XLR8 raced in, grabbing Ben and slamming him into the ground. They all jumped. Jessica grabbed a waterproof flashlight and a translator form inside and ran off. "I'll go read what's up," she said, jumping into the bayou, turning into her mermaid form. Rarity and Twilget fired off ball of magic at the slime thing. The blast knocked it back as Carl raced in with his blaster energy blade weapon and make it a sword as the slime became Diamond Head. Ben got up, turning into Chromastone to hold back the blades as he said, "What are you?" he said, landing a knee to his copy's stomach, making it slide back. The copy turned into Omniverse version Eye Guy, only for Girl to fire, hitting him in the middle eye, making it growl before changing to Lodestar. The copy held out its hook, summoning Metal Form Underground to throw at them, but Ben became Lodestar as well and made a force field around them, protecting them. Pinkie Pie's jaw stopped. "What the F is that thing? It's so F creep." In a moment Jessica on legs was running as a purple copy of her gave chase as she said, "I read the thing, it says faulty BEN10 defense network will clone any who touches it, and clones will keep fighting till the stop signal or original dies. Faulty as the stop signal /off SWCH doesn't work." Her copy then jumped, tackling her and grabbing her hair, making her scream in pain. Ben then looked, said, "Dad, I am going to use X, turn the dial and make me go ultimate, I have to bet it all," he said, hitting the dial, becoming Alien X. The Ben copy then turned back into Diamond Head, about to fire off shards as Carl turned and hit the dial, making the spikes come out. Rainbow's jaw dropped. "Alien X is real," she said, her wings flaring. The shards stopped and reality seemed to wave and ripple around them and go static-like. Alien X stood, colors inverted, its form changed to be androgynous. Its shape could be female with lower measurements of a male without any fat of muscles mass they couldn't tell. Its outfit didn't help. Silver armored lion cloth with plates in the front and back leaving his legs revealed. Metal silver boots with a minor heel, metal chest blade that revealed the midriff. Silver wrist bands. And a silver crown with 10 spikes leaving what looked like inverted cosmic energy behind as a ponytail. The ultimate alien stood before speaking in an echoing voice that could be male or female as it said, "Ultimate Alien X, such a strange feeling, all the power of Alien X without the other two co-pilots to hold me back. he said, waving his hands, making the clones and purple slime vanish by erasing them. I erased them. But I still can't seem to undo the lock keeping you girls out of Equestria. Twilight's jaw was dropped, as was the others. Jessica then hit the dial, making Ben time out as she said, "Too weird." So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 2. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author JBoy44 on fanfiction.net. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.